So is the MZ1 wireless even relevant, even worth it in 2023? Let's start off with the shape, which is extremely weird. Now imagine a Pulsar X2 but even lower profile and even more flattened. I would say the Pulsar X2 is kind of in between this and the Endgame Gear XM1 in that all of them have this low click position philosophy where it's a claw grip shape, but the MZ1 really goes all the way. It's completely low profile, it's low at the back, it's low at the front, it's really flattened, it's really kind of like this sleek, kind of slender piece of bread, and it does actually end up creating a shape that is really nice to hold in the hand. Now Zai's philosophy when reviewing gaming mice is that he really likes having lower click positions because for his claw or fingertip grip it feels a lot more comfortable to click aggressively, since with high click positions you kind of have to bend your finger upwards like this, which puts more strain on your forearms and your ligaments, and it's not as nice, which is actually the reason I don't like the G Pro X Superlight, because in my personal experience I feel this way too. And because of that he made his mouse have a super duper low click position, one of the lowest if not the lowest. That results in a very interesting feel where the clicks almost feel super easy to press. Not easy to misclick, mind you, it just makes it feel very convenient, like it feels intuitive. The sides slope inwards slightly with a little bit of gentle groove and curve in just for your fingers, and while it does look like a symmetrical shape, it's not actually fully symmetrical, so left-handers look elsewhere. The back arch also, in terms of the back cover, has a very gentle hump, which is where it really deviates from something like a Pulsar X2 or Endgame Gear XM1. Whereas the XM1 on the Pulsar X2 has a hump on the back that does fill out your palm a little bit and give you good palm support. The MZ1 has a very small arch at the back, and if you really want to completely eliminate this arch, you can actually do that by replacing the back cover with the included replacement one that you just kind of unscrew the bottom screw with and then you stick the new one in it. I don't need to explain to you how to change the back cover, come on guys. This is my preferred way to set it up because I really like having a super duper low profile mouse with nothing basically in contact with my hands except what I want it to, and this does end up feeling quite nice and quite interesting. But the thing is though, because it's so low profile, it does feel like a very small mouse in the hands. So despite visually looking like it could be a similar size to the XM1, it is substantially smaller in the hand and actually feels more like a Vibranium Mini in terms of sheer volume in the hand. Thankfully though, because of how the shape is laid out, my 19cm by 10cm hands still find it to be pretty comfortable and extremely usable. But I would say that much bigger hands than mine should avoid this unless you're using some sort of very aggressive claw grip or very aggressive fingertip grip in which you don't mind the mouse being even smaller. As far as grip styles that work with this mouse go, definitely don't get this if you're using a palm grip. If you get it with a palm grip, you don't deserve to have palms, to be honest. But really, it's a mouse that's designed for more aggressive claw grips and fingertip grips. A relaxed claw could work, especially with how nice and equally tensioned the Cal GM 8.0 clicks are. I would just say stick to fingertip or more aggressive claw grips if you're getting this mouse. And yes, the clicks are really good, as is the scroll wheel, which has a very light scroll, which I like, and a pretty crisp kind of notchy action. It also is very light and easy to middle click, which might be a good or a bad thing depending on who you ask. It's easy to misclick, but it's also a lot easier to press than a lot of the middle clicks you find on mice these days. And the thumb buttons are also very nice and light, and they also don't really have any pre-travel with very minimal post-travel. It's good thumb buttons, it's solid. On the bottom of the mouse you find some decent mice feet that on my Zowie GSR feel average, and then you also find the sensor. Now this mouse is a bit older, which is why it only has a Pixart 3370 sensor as opposed to the more modern 3395, which has motion sync and all that stuff. But in reality, it's a good implementation with no real flaws, so you're not going to notice the difference and you're not really going to have any issue. Also, because it is an older mouse, it has holes in it to obtain its 62 gram weight, which is actually pretty light and shouldn't be an issue for most people. It's the same way as the Endgame Gear XM2 WE, which doesn't have holes and is also 33 pounds cheaper, unfortunately, for the MZ1. But the MZ1 does have a couple of interesting features that make it stand out beyond just the Rocket Jump Ninja recognition. For one, it's a Xtrify mouse, so it has a nice touch of being completely software free. You can change settings and just use it without installing any stupid thing like Razer Synapse, which I really appreciate. On top of that, it has a adjustable center of gravity. By loosening or tightening these two screws on the bottom, you can adjust the height of the chipset and basically adjust the height of the weight in the mouse. So you can have the center of gravity be higher up or lower down depending on how you like the feel, which is a little bit more customizability, which is pretty impressive for a 62 gram mouse. So good job on that. Plus the fact it does come with a replacement back cover that you can customize with, a screwdriver to change everything. It is actually a pretty decent kind of level of features and little gimmicks here and there. Battery life is also pretty good, especially when you turn off the RGB, which this does have, and it could last a good 4 to 5 days on a single charge with about 2 to 3 hours of gaming. So I would say it's respectable. Not amazing, not G Pro X level, but acceptable. For the drawbacks of this mouse, well, there are really only a few drawbacks. One, like on the M8 wireless review I did a couple of weeks ago, it's a very unique, esoteric / weird shape that you might strongly dislike. So you kind of really need to know what you like before you get the MZ1 wireless, because there's only a particular group of people with a particular grip and hand size that would really enjoy the MZ1. Most people probably won't like it as much. Another is the fact that the coating on the MZ1 isn't all that great. It's very slippery in the hands, and I would personally recommend you find some sort of grip tape solution if using the MZ1 wireless, because it does feel very hard to hold on to. Now, I know a lot of people like the raw plastic texture that you find on the M8 wireless, and there is a somewhat similar plastic texture here on the MZ1, and you might like it, but I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a bit too slippery. And last but not least, it's the price. This is £120, which is like £30 more than the XM2WE, which is a similar shape, a same weight, it doesn't have holes, and it's newer, despite having the same specs in basically almost every front. This is also £20 more than things like the Lamzu Atlantis or the Pulsar X2, all of which are great alternatives to this mouse right here, the MZ1 wireless. Now, most of those mice don't have really anything with customization like this does, and most of those mice might not have the backing of Rocket Jump Ninja. Also, those mice do not have such a unique commitment to having such a low profile shape, unlike the MZ1 wireless, so there are still some advantages and competitive edges that the MZ1 wireless still does have. It's just that with a year and a half of progress, the MZ1 wireless is a lot less competitive of a product than it used to be when it first came out, and personally I would say for the average consumer who wants a low profile shape, something like the Pulsar X2 is probably a better idea, or maybe even a XM2WE. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if this was helpful or enjoyable, and I'll see you guys around.